economy is experiencing cardiac arrest because there is a disjointed economic policy management that is in place. So now let me break it down. Where am I leading with all of this? As we speak today, the monetary policy drive of Nigeria is to contract the economy. You hear the central bank governor say we are tightening. Tightening means they are trying to mop up money out of the economy into the coffers of the central bank to fight inflation, because they believe that it's too much money in the economy that is causing inflation. So the central bank is actively contracting, tightening the economy by increasing interest rate. For the past 10 or so MPC meetings, they have increased interest rate. This current central bank took over interest rate when they were 18%. Today they are 28.75%. He has added 10 percentage. That is what we call, in this case, we would have said 1,000 basis points. He has added 1,000 basis points. That is 10 percentage on top of the 18% that he made, trying to contract the economy. On the other hand, the fiscal policy is expanding the economy. Is borrowing money and pumping it in the economy. The central bank is saying, oh, there's too much money in the economy, let us tighten. Yes. The federal minister of finance is borrowing money and pumping it into that same economy. Can't you see that we have a big problem here? This is what I'm trying to describe. And it's a fundamental issue, because the two aspects of economic policy management are working at cross purposes. It doesn't seem as if Mr. Wale Edun, our Minister of Finance and coordinating Minister of the Economy, it doesn't look like that coordinating Minister of the Economy bit of his portfolio is not functioning. Because if it was functioning, these two economic policy management cannot be doing this. Let me give you another example. Before the current government came into power, the Federal Accounts Allocation Committee, otherwise known as FAC, that is where the federal, the state, and the local government come and share the revenue accruable to Nigeria, right? The FAC process. The FAC process before this current government came into power were in the neighborhood of 600 billion naira every month. So every month, the commissioners of finance and the federal government officials, they will sit down and share this money. Today, in fact, the last FAC process that they shared was 1.4 billion, almost 1. I said, why am I saying billion? 1.4 trillion. It was almost 1.5 trillion. The FAC process have tripled from 600 and something, or let me say more than doubled, from 600 billion to nearly 1.5 trillion. What is the implication of this? The implication of this is that as the central bank is seeing that, oh, money supply in the economy is much, let us pull money out of the economy, let us hike interest rate, let us increase the cash reserve ratio. The federal government, that is on the fiscal side, are pumping almost 1 trillion naira more than the Buhari government was pumping into that same economy. Does it make sense? And do you know where that 1.4 trillion is coming from? This is where it's coming from. The Buhari government, when Nigeria earned $1 from oil proceeds or any dollar that we earned, they exchanged that dollar for 460 naira. That was the official rate at the end of Buhari's tenure. Today, the Tinubu government takes that same $1 and they get 1,700 naira for it. So the Tinubu government is making a lot more money for the same dollars that were earned by the Buhari regime. And they are passing that money into the FAC. And FAC is pumping that money into the economy. The central bank is seeing that money in the economy and is saying, oh, there is too much money supply in the economy. Let us increase interest rates. But when you increase interest rates, it harms productivity. It makes borrowing more expensive. So the industries and businesses that should have been accessing cheap credit to expand their productivity, create jobs, and make goods and services available more cheaply to Nigerians cannot do that. And that is why jobs are not being created, output is low, and because of low output, prices are high. Because it's a simple matter of demand and supply. The lower the supply, the higher the prices. So if you are a farmer today, you want to approach the bank to get money to go and put in your farm, the bank is mostly going to charge you 30-something% interest per annum. Where will you see the money to repay such a loan? It's impossible. So you would rather not go there. So this borrowing, my suggestion to the federal government and even to the state governments who are borrowing is that we don't need to survive on borrowing. We can survive on expanding this economy, right? We can survive on creating the enabling environment for the international community and even local investors to come into the Nigerian economy and use their money to invest. And I can give you an example, a practical example of what I'm talking about. Remember that Nigeria, we had a NITER, and that NITER was a government-owned company that was responsible for providing us with telephones. NITER went borrowing to provide us with telephones. Today, we will not have the telephones that we have, and even the ones we have, they will be very expensive. But what the government did, and this is the government of President Obasanjo, what he did was that he opened up the space and allowed the MTNs, the Airtels, the Nine Mobiles, and the Glos to come into the sector. It is those companies that brought their monies. As we speak today, over $100 billion has been invested in the Nigerian telecom sector by these companies. That money is not on the balance sheet of Nigeria as any loan. We didn't borrow the money. These are investors who brought their money. They invested the money, they built the telecoms infrastructure, and today Nigerians are talking on the phone and those people are making their money back. This is the route to go. Let enabling environment, let investment come in. Instead of you always going to borrow, to the extent that we are now almost using 100% of our revenue to service debt. Who survives?
I was coming to that.